As Secretary of the Durham Miners Association, he carries the torch lit by generations of miners, such as them towing the banner behind us. Men and women who have built this region with their hands and their courage. He's not just preserving our past, he's building our future. A voice for justice, a champion of community, and a leader who stands tall when everyone else falls silent. Let's hear it. Let's give him a big, proud County Durham welcome. The voice of the pitman, Alan Mardghum.
Comrades, friends, it's absolutely marvellous to see such a massive crowd here today in Durham. Certainly a lot better and weather-wise than it was this time last year. At last year's Gala, a week after the general election landslide victory of the Labour government, I warned that if the new government didn't deliver, I think I said there was a sinister group lurking in the background to replace them. And look what happened. The government stopped winter fuel payments to the elderly. They reneged on promises to waspy women. And I can remember people on that front bench now, when they were in opposition, never missing a photo opportunity to stand with waspy women and promise that justice would be done. And they reneged on it. They also retained the two-child benefit cap, forcing some kids into poverty and hunger. We've got reports from the Teachers' Union that some children in the 6th richest nation in the world are going to school with empty bellies. That's a damn disgrace. That is intolerable. The result in Durham and other parts of the country was that we've got councils now run by reform. Despite that, Starmer and his advisors, if that's what they are, if Morgan McSweeney was my advisor, he wouldn't have a job for long. The man's an absolute clown. And despite that, Starmer came onto TV and in the press saying, I will not change course. In fact, will accelerate the changes that are necessary. It's like heading towards a cliff edge and putting your foot on the accelerator rather than the brake and turning around and coming back to safety and reassessing the situation. It's absolutely intolerable. And then the government were forced into U-turns. And I'm proud to call the 120, or some of the 128 MPs who rebelled against the injustices, many of whom are on this platform today. I'm proud to call them friends and comrades. I'm proud to have stood with some of them shoulder to shoulder for many years. Some of them on picket lines in 84, 85 and ever since. Thanks for what you did, comrades. You showed what Labour MPs are supposed to do. Traditional Labour voters rightly felt betrayed by the Labour Party. Successive governments, not only Labour, the Labour Party, the Tory Party and everybody else. And they turned to reform. And the DMA issued a statement, a factual statement about why we oppose reform. We even had one in particular crying and saying, why aren't we as elected members invited to the Gala? Why would we invite them? They stand against every principle that we stand for. They'll never be invited by the Durham Miners Association. Never. following the publication of the statement, which was well received by many people, the deputy leader, the new deputy leader of Durham County Council, resorted to personal insults on social media. I was actually in a hospital with my daughter who's ill, and I got a ping on my phone, and a mate of mine had sent this blog, or whatever they're called, of Darren Grimes. Oh, he's a real keyboard warrior, our Darren, sitting in his bedroom at night, insulting people. I'll invite from this platform Darren Grimes to come and accuse me of being a cosplayer minor. That's it, that was his words, cosplayer minor. And he made one or two other stupid remarks. But come and say them to me face, Darren. You know where I am. He actually lied to people in his constituencies, in our communities who'd voted reform, saying they weren't welcome by the DMA to Durham. That is a blatant lie. The man is a liar, and I'm calling him out now in front of you all. We never ever banned anybody, nor is it our intention to do so. I reiterate, we will never ever invite reform councillors onto the platforms and marching if they want. That's their prerogative. That's democracy. That's what we stand for. Unlike them, he wants to check some of Farage's statements before he starts talking about his democratic rights. When he called us a cosplayer mime, I'd never heard the word before, to be honest. And I had to check me 15-year-old grandson said, well, why don't you look it up on Google? I says, well, can you do that for us? It's easier for you. He asserted that he was hurt by not being invited. He then went on in another little tantrum, which he tends to have, and described the gala as a jamboree, an historical reenactment. Well, at some jamboree, Darren, you'll never address a crowd as big as this. They just don't get it, what the gala means, the historical context of the gala, where we'll look to the past and look forward to the future for a better future. We're trying to emulate what our forefathers did, building decent homes, providing decent jobs, providing trade union rights, providing hospitals, providing leisure facilities. We're trying to emulate what they did and improve on that. Not destroy everything in sight like they're intent on doing. And I've got a word of advice for Darren Grimes. If you want to get into personal insults, I'll not be drawn to lower myself into that. However, be warned, Darren, I've been insulted by professionals, and you were certainly not in that class, lad. He's a bit of an expert, apparently, with social media. And I've seen some of the racist bile posing the question, since when did one was invite foreigners to address the gala? It's supposed to be about minors. And the gala is being infiltrated by loony lefties. I'm proud to be a loony lefty. It's better than being a right-wing fascist, that's for certain. So I did a bit of research on our history, the DMA history of inviting international guests to honour our platforms and our presence. And it turns out that the first international speaker was a man called John O'Connor Power, who was an Irish independence campaigner and he was a Home Rule MP in County Mayo in Ireland. And he addressed his gala in 1876. So Darren, it's not a new phenomenon, lad. The DMA has a long and proud history, as Stephen's already said, of supporting oppressed people around the world. And we will continue to do so. Wherever there's oppression, the DMA will stand shoulder to shoulder with those being oppressed, and we will support them to the best of our ability and make sure we spread the word. As regards the current political state, we, as the National Union of Mine Workers and as the Durham Miners Association, have some matters which are outstanding. Yes, part of the pension debacle has been solved. The 1.5 billion from the investment fund has been returned to miners, which was very welcome. But we need to get a decision sooner rather than later on the surplus sharing of the actuarial surpluses of the Mine Workers Pension Scheme. As Stephen's already said, that belongs in the pockets of widows and beneficiaries who toiled in the bowels of the earth, putting pensions away for a rainy day, not for governments to plunder them to bail them out of a financial crisis. And we demand a pardon for all the miners sacked, well, first of all, the ones arrested during the strike, and follow our comrades and friends in Scotland. And we want a pardon for all the miners who were sacked in the 84-85 dispute. It's an absolute travesty of justice what happened to them lads. Sacked for being on strike, sacked for fighting for the jobs, sacked for fighting for the communities. They need our support now, 40 odd years on. There's too much time gone. Chris Peace, from our comrade from the Orgreave Truth and Justice Campaign, will mention Orgreave and give a detailed account of what it was and where we're at with that particular campaign. And all power to their elbows. There was lads brutally beaten by a vicious police state. And then Northumbria Police Force decide, for some reason, 41 years later, to destroy all records pertaining to the miners' strike in 84-85. We want to know who gave the order, why did they give the order after all this time? And don't tell me it's because of lack of space. You found the space for 41 years. Another year or two on the verge of an inquiry into Orgreave wouldn't have mattered a damn. Who's got something to hide? Please answer the questions. We want compensation for the WASPy women who were robbed of the pensions. Women of an age who'd worked all their lives, were planning for retirement, and then have it brutally snatched away by an uncaring government. We want that money returned to those women and compensation paid to them. And don't tell me there isn't any money. If you can find billions of pounds, if any government can find billions of pounds for weapons of mass destruction and annihilation and murder, we can find the money to give people in the sixth richest economy in the world a decent existence, a decent life. And finally, I'll end here. There's far more important speakers than I today. I want to end my contribution with a message of support from the DMA to our friends and comrades, our brothers and sisters from the LGBTQ plus community. Reform councillors took down the pride flag from City Hall. The Durham miners will raise it higher than it's ever been. Solidarity, comrades!
Thank you, Alan. Forthright as ever. Friends, it's a real honour to welcome to the platform a lifelong champion of workers' rights.